Imagine sitting in a dimly lit, mahogany-paneled room in an exclusive club in London or New York. The air smells of old books and expensive leather. In the corner, two men are talking. One is a billionaire tech mogul, the other creates real estate empires. They are discussing money, but if you leaned in to listen, you wouldn't hear them talking about their salaries. You wouldn't hear them complaining about gas prices. You wouldn't even hear them talking about saving money. They are speaking a completely different language. They are talking about leverage, about tax structures, about asset allocation, and about buying time. Most of us are playing the game of money, but we are playing with a rulebook that was written for employees, not for creators. We are taught to work hard, save our pennies, and hope for the best. But the people in that room, they are playing by a different set of rules entirely. Welcome back to MonsterInvest. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we are going to crash that private club. We are going to pull up a chair, listen in, and decode the money secrets the 1% don't want you to know. This isn't just about how to make more money. It is about fundamentally rewiring your brain to understand how wealth is actually built, preserved, and multiplied. We are going deep today, so I hope you are ready. Let's start with the foundational lie that keeps the 99% trapped. The lie is this: income equals wealth. Let me tell you a story about two hypothetical men, Robert and David. Robert is what society considers a huge success. He is a senior partner at a top law firm. He makes $600,000 a year. He drives the latest Porsche, lives in a $4 million penthouse, and wears suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent. When Robert walks into a room, people think, that guy is rich. But let's look at Robert's bank account. After taxes, which take nearly half of his income because he is a high-income earner, he is left with $300,000. Then comes the mortgage, the car payments, the private school tuition for 3 kids, the vacations to the Maldives to keep up appearances on Instagram, and the country club membership. At the end of the month, Robert has maybe $2,000 left. He is stressed. He cannot stop working. If he takes a month off, his entire life collapses. Robert is not rich. Robert is a high-paid slave to his own lifestyle. He is cash poor. Now let's look at David. David drives a 3-year-old Ford truck. He wears jeans and a plain t-shirt. You probably wouldn't look twice at him at the supermarket. David never earned more than $80,000 a year in a salary, but David understood the first secret of the 1% early on. David didn't focus on income, he focused on net worth and asset accumulation. Over the last 20 years, every time David got paid, he lived simply. He took his savings and bought boring assets. He bought a small duplex and rented it out. He bought shares in dividend-paying companies. He bought a small car wash business that runs itself. Today, David's assets pay him $10,000 a month, whether he gets out of bed or not. David owns his time. Robert, the lawyer, owns nothing but debt. The first secret is this: the 1% do not work for money. They build systems that work for them. They understand that as long as you're trading time for money, you have a ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day. To become truly wealthy, you must detach your income from your time. This leads us directly into the second, and perhaps most controversial secret: the power of leverage. If you go to a traditional financial advisor, they will tell you that debt is bad. Pay off your credit cards, pay off your mortgage, be debt-free. And for the average consumer, this is great advice because the average consumer uses debt to buy liabilities. But the 1% love debt. In fact, they cannot get enough of it, but they use a specific kind of debt. Let's break this down with a case study involving a real estate deal. This is where the magic happens. Imagine you have $100,000 in cash. You want to invest it. Option A is the safe route. You take that $100,000 and you buy a small studio apartment in cash. You own it outright. You rent it out for $1,000 a month. That is a decent return. You are making $12,000 a year, which is a 12% return. Not bad. But now let's look at option B, the wealthy route. The wealthy investor takes that same $100,000, but instead of buying one apartment, he uses it as a down payment for a $500,000 apartment complex. He borrows the other $400,000 from the bank. Now you might say, Daniel, that sounds risky. Now he has a huge debt. But pause for a second. Who is paying that debt? Not the investor. The tenants are. The rental income from this bigger building is $5,000 a month. The mortgage payment to the bank is $3,000. The maintenance and taxes are another $1,000. So the investor still clears $1,000 a month in profit, just like the first guy. But here is the difference. The wealthy investor controls an asset worth $500,000, not $100,000. When the property value goes up by 10%, the first guy makes $10,000. The wealthy guy, he makes $50,000. That is a 50% return on his initial money. This is called leverage. The wealthy use the bank's money to get rich. They use good debt to buy assets that pay for the debt. The poor use bad debt to buy shoes, cars, and vacations that lose value the moment they leave the store. Now I want to transition to a topic that makes most people's eyes glaze over, but it is absolutely critical. If you want to be in the 1%, you have to understand the rules of the game, and the biggest rulebook is the tax code. The third secret is, taxes are voluntary for the 1%. Now, before you get angry, I don't mean they break the law. I mean they structure their lives so that the law works in their favor. You see, the government uses the tax code to incentivize behavior. The government wants jobs, they want housing, and they want business growth. So they give tax breaks to people who provide those things. Let's go back to our lawyer, Robert. He is an employee. The tax code for employees is very strict. He earns money, the government takes the tax immediately, before he even sees it, and then he tries to live on what is left. The wealthy operate through corporations. A corporation is a magic shield. Let's say you have a business, you earn money. Before you pay a single dime in taxes, you can spend that money on things that help your business grow. You need a car for meetings. That's a business expense. You need a laptop, business expense. You need to travel to a conference in Hawaii. If you structure it right, that's a business expense. The wealthy person earns, spends, and then pays tax on the tiny amount that is left over. The employee earns, pays tax, and then spends what is left. This simple shift in the order of operations, earn, spend, tax versus earn, tax, spend, is worth millions of dollars over a lifetime. It is not about evasion, it is about efficiency. Moving on to the fourth secret, which is about psychology and risk. There is a myth that rich people are big gamblers. We see movies where they bet millions on a single stock or a roll of the dice. The reality is the exact opposite. The 1% are obsessed with asymmetric risk. What does that mean? It means they look for opportunities where the downside is limited, but the upside is unlimited. Let's look at a hypothetical scenario involving a startup investor. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah looks at 10 different startup companies. She invests $10,000 in each one. Her total investment is $100,000. She knows that statistically, 7 of those companies will fail. She will lose $70,000. 2 might break even, but one might be the next Uber or Amazon. That one company could turn her $10,000 into $2 million. She risks $100,000 to make $2 million. If she is wrong, she loses a fixed amount. If she is right, she wins exponentially. The average person takes the opposite bet. When you take a safe job, you have capped your upside. Your salary can only go so high, but your downside is total. You could get fired tomorrow and lose 100% of your income. That is actually a risky bet, but society tells us it is safe. The wealthy protect their downside, but they leave their upside open. They never bet the farm, but they always keep a ticket in the lottery of life. Now let's talk about the company you keep. Secret number 5 is about your network. You have heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The 1% take this literally. If you hang out with 5 people who complain about their boss, who spend their weekends drinking and watching TV, and who have no ambition, it is almost impossible for you to rise above that. Their normal becomes your normal. The wealthy curate their social circle aggressively. This isn't about being a snob, it is about idea flow. When wealthy people get together, they don't gossip, they trade information. Hey, I heard this zoning law is changing in that district, or my company is looking for a new supplier for this technology. One conversation in the right room is worth more than a 4-year degree. The 1% know that opportunities don't come from job boards, they come from relationships. They invest in people, they host dinners, they help others without asking for anything in return immediately, knowing that social capital is the most potent currency of all. And this brings us to a secret that is perhaps the hardest for people to accept because it requires patience. Secret number 6, the boring magic of compounding. We live in a TikTok generation. We want the 30-second hack to get rich. We want the crypto coin that goes to the moon overnight. But if you look at the fortunes of Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, or the quiet millionaire next door, you find a graph that looks like a hockey stick. It stays flat for a long, long time, and then suddenly it shoots up vertically. Let's imagine a bamboo tree. You plant the seed, you water it. For 5 years, you see nothing. Absolutely nothing breaks the surface of the soil. You might think this is a failure, but under the ground, the bamboo is building a massive root system. Then in the 5th year, it shoots up 80 feet in the air in just 6 weeks. The 1% are willing to endure the 5 years of invisibility. They are willing to build the foundation while everyone else is laughing at them or ignoring them. They reinvest their dividends. They don't eat the marshmallow. Let's look at a quick case study of lifestyle inflation. Imagine you get a promotion and a $10,000 raise. The poor mindset says, great, I can upgrade my car, I can get a better apartment. The money is gone instantly. The wealthy mindset says, I was living fine on my old salary. I will take this entire $10,000 and dump it into my investment portfolio. They treat every dollar like a little worker. They never fire their workers, spend the principal. They only spend the children of their workers the interest. And eventually, they reach a tipping point where their money makes more money in a year than they could ever earn by working. That is the moment of true freedom. That is the moment you step out of the matrix. As we start to wrap up, I want to address one final secret. It is a secret about abundance. Most of the world operates on a scarcity mindset. They believe there is only one pie. If I get a slice, you get less. This creates jealousy, hoarding, and fear. The 1% operate on an abundance mindset. They believe they can bake more pies. They believe that wealth is infinite. This is why you see wealthy people collaborating. They know that by helping you get rich, they don't lose anything. In fact, they gain a powerful ally. They don't compete, they create. When you stop looking at the world as a battle for resources and start looking at it as a canvas for creation, everything changes. You stop asking, how can I get a raise? And start asking, how can I solve a bigger problem for more people? Because ultimately, money is just a receipt for the value you have provided to the world. So let's bring this all together. We have covered a lot of ground today, and I want to make sure these lessons stick. Here is a summary of what we have discussed. First, redefine wealth. It is not your salary. It is your net worth and your cash flow. Don't be the high-paid lawyer who is broke. Be the quiet investor who is free. Second, embrace leverage. Don't fear debt. Learn to use other people's money to acquire assets that pay for themselves. Third, master the tax code. Stop thinking like an employee. Start thinking like a business owner. Earn, spend, then tax. Fourth, understand risk. Protect your downside, but leave your upside open to infinite possibilities. Fifth, curate your environment. Surround yourself with people who are playing the game at a higher level than you are. And finally, play the long game. Respect the power of compounding. Be the bamboo tree. Build your roots deep so you can grow high. The secrets of the 1% are not magic. They are not reserved for people with a special bloodline. They are simply a different way of viewing the world. They are a set of habits and beliefs that anyone can adopt, starting today. You don't need $1 million to start thinking like a millionaire. You just need to decide that you are done playing by the old rules. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me today on MonsterInvest. Time is the one asset we can never get back, and I appreciate you investing yours with me. If this episode sparked a light bulb in your mind, do me a favor. Share it with just one friend. Let's start a conversation. Let's build a community of people who are ready to break free. I'm Daniel, this is MonsterInvest. Now go out there and build something great. I'll see you in the next episode.